When Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom opened in 1984, it was not another action-adventure movie. It was a watershed moment for Hollywood, a film that pushed the limits, shook viewers to the core, and left an indelible mark on the rulebook of the industry. The second installment in the Indiana Jones series has always been the most reckless sidetrack, a film that had the guts to leave behind the desert dunes of Raiders of the Lost Ark for rope bridges swinging above bottomless chasms, bug-ridden caves, and an underground hellish temple, where the issue was not just life or death, but life and death. But as exciting as the on-screen escapade was, the reality, on the back, lot was equally perilous. Cracked spines, government prohibitions, impossible stunts on a level of near-sick according to Will, and a rating battle that revolutionized Hollywood. This was more than pulp adventure. This was Shadow on a collision course. If this kind of story touches your heart, if you're someone who cares about truth, responsibility, and speaking up for the voiceless, please like this video, subscribe to our channel Star Vault TV, and share it with someone who should hear it. Let's get started. Right from the start, the very name gave it away. Initial drafts didn't even refer to it as Temple of Doom. It was Indiana Jones and the Temple of Death. That chilling title captured George Lucas and Steven Spielberg's original concept for a tale much darker and more sinister than Raiders. While the first picture featured Nazis, holy relics, and a Saturday matinee vibe, the second involved human sacrifice, slave children, and heart-tripping ceremonies pulled directly out of bad dreams. But Spielberg feared that death crossed over too far into the horror genre. After all, Raiders had attracted families in droves, and Temple of Death threatened to lose them before the opening titles rolled. The solution was Temple of Doom, still foreboding, but pulpy, enigmatic, and barely campy enough to recall audiences the high-adventure serials on which the series was based. It was a title that threatened thrills without announcing just how inflammatorily controversial those thrills would prove to be. One of the more bizarre choices Lucas and Spielberg made was to make the movie a prequel. Rather than continuing where Raiders left off, the new film took place in 1935, a year previous. This wasn't random. In Raiders, the Nazis were already ideal villains, iconic, chilling, and historically rooted. But Lucas didn't want to do the same thing twice. He desired a completely new threat, and through the rolling back of the timeline, he circumvented the complexities of World War II. The prequel environment gave access to the fictionalized Thuggee cult in India, presenting audiences with a villainous element that was mysterious and terrifyingly other. Most significantly, it allowed Indiana Jones himself to appear rougher and less defined. In Temple of Doom, he's not the virtuous hero who battles Nazis to rescue the world. He's a morally ambiguous adventurer seeking fortune and glory, a man still discovering what lines he's going to cross and isn't going to cross. That edge was paid for, even in creation. Lawrence Kasdan, who had scripted Raiders, was the obvious candidate to come back for the sequel. But when Lucas and Spielberg offered him the new script, he refused flat out. The blood rituals, slavery, and gruesome violence-filled script seemed to him mean-spirited. Kasdan had no interest. Lucas then went to husband and wife screenwriting team Willard Huyck and Gloria Katz, who embraced the pulp excesses. Their take provided us with an Indiana Jones adventure that was nasty, ugly, and ethically unsparing, a far cry from the Raiders' fun. The darkness that continues to polarize fans to this very day wasn't by design. It was cooked into the script right from the beginning. Some of that ugliness was a direct result of the filmmakers' own personal lives. George Lucas was going through a complicated divorce, one that left him raw and agitated. Steven Spielberg was also going through a breakup and admitted that he wasn't in the right frame of mind to create another light, frivolous romp. Both men channeled that unrest into the film. No dashing desert chases for them, but rather suffocating subterranean temples. No repartee, but rather shrieking insects, child slaves, and a hero who was sometimes more mercenary than Messiah. Spielberg would go on to refer to Temple of Doom, the black sheep of the series, a film influenced by where he and Lucas were emotionally. That tension, though, provided the movie with its bite. There was peril not only on the screen, but also in the process of creation. Not all aspects of production were dark, however. Occasionally fate supplied magic. Case in point, the tale of Ku Hui Kwan, the 12-year-old boy who was short round. He wasn't even allowed to audition. He had accompanied his older brother, who was auditioning for the movie. While Ku waited, casting directors saw Ku instructing his brother, reciting lines, and even blocking his actions. They brought him in on a read-through, and within one afternoon he charmed everyone, including Spielberg. Though he had no acting experience whatsoever, Ku's natural timing, charm, and boldness made him an overnight sensation. He could match wits with Harrison Ford, trading banter and emotional resonance as if he was a seasoned pro. Overnight, a boy who had just attended to watch his brother became one of the most endearing sidekicks in film history. If happy accidents occurred through casting, locations provided only annoyance. Spielberg and Lucas had initially intended to film in India, with government officials opening up to them breathtaking landscapes and temples. But when the Indian authorities read the script, they were appalled. The presentation of their culture, ritual sacrifice, starvation, slavery, was offensive, they complained, and politically hazardous. They would not give permission unless the script was rewritten in a major way. Spielberg and Lucas declined. Instead, production relocated to Sri Lanka, which stood in for India in the jungle and village scenes of the movie. Interiors were constructed on enormous soundstages back in England. The move provided them with more control, but the specter of that ban still hung over it. Ironically, Temple of Doom became notorious for its depiction of India without ever rolling a single frame of film within that country. The challenges did not stop there. Halfway through shooting, Harrison Ford experienced a piercing, incapacitating ache in his back. He was diagnosed with a herniated disc, a condition that would normally put him out of commission for months. But Harrison Ford was stubborn. For weeks he worked with the pain, reducing some stunts, but never giving up. His stunt double, Vic Armstrong, filled in for the riskiest parts, but Ford was back as soon as he possibly could, even when he had emergency back surgery in Los Angeles. In a few weeks, he was in Sri Lanka again, suspended on rope bridges and battling cult members. Spielberg would later say most actors would have closed down the production, but Ford's stubbornness kept the film on schedule. Indiana Jones wasn't only gruff on screen. Harrison Ford endured it. The physical challenges also reached co-star Kate Capshaw, who went through some of the most frightening shoots of her life. For the notorious insect chamber, the production wrangled 80,000 live insects, including cockroaches and stick insects. Capshaw was so scared she reportedly took Valium before arriving on set. Nevertheless, she stood through days of shooting with bugs crawling on her face, hair, and costume. In another scene, her shimmery red sequin dress, worn in the Shanghai nightclub, became a nightmare on the set. The dainty fabric was easy to tear, and while filming in the jungle, an elephant tore a piece off with its trunk. To compound the problem, only one copy of the dress was made by the costume department. Each tear and bead had to be meticulously hand-repaired. Capshaw lived, laughing through portions of the mayhem. But her job was certainly one of the highest-maintenance acting gigs in the franchise. The crew, meanwhile, executed some of the most outlandish stunts in the franchise. The opening airplane crash, with Indy, Willie, and Short Round bounding into an inflatable raft, wasn't all movie magic. Stunt teams literally dropped a raft from an airplane in the Canadian Rockies, capturing real performers bouncing down a snowy slope. The minecart chase was another wonder, accomplished through a combination of full-scale sets and complex miniature models shot by industrial light and magic. For the rope bridge conclusion, Spielberg needed to merge shots from 3 continents: an actual bridge in Sri Lanka, a replica shot in England for up-close shots, and a miniaturized version in California for the destruction of the bridge. The smooth editing tricked the eyes, so it seemed like one place, even though it was an international collaboration spliced together by film magic. Spielberg's own go-to moment naturally was the spike room trap. Walls closing in on him, spikes bursting up from the ground. bugs everywhere. It was raw pulp brilliance. Spielberg referred to it as one of the best sequences he ever got to shoot in his entire career because it contained all the things he liked most about Indiana Jones: danger, comedy, character tension, and impeccable timing. All the showiness of rope bridges and minecarts aside, it was this bug-infested, claustrophobic chamber that brought him the most delight as a director. But the pleasure didn't carry over to audiences or parents, at least. When Temple of Doom came out, it stunned audiences with its violence. With a PG rating, it nevertheless included graphic, heart-tearing